Alright everyone, we start off today talking about the Oxford High School shooting and the prosecutorial knee-jerk overreach thereafter with regards to taking in the Crumbleys, James and Jennifer, and holding them on involuntary manslaughter charges. Now here's the thing, the argument made is effectively this. They were saying, well, there were warning signs, the kids, playing around with the gun and, making drawings that depict violence. Now, for a 15-year-old, making drawings that depict violent scenes, even situational ones, is that really that uncommon? How many of those kids actually shoot up their schools? Very limited number. If you were to try to bombard all of the vaguely troubled teenagers in the country and say, well, they need to go into therapy, they shouldn't be in the school, they're a threat, you wouldn't have many people left in school. You remember being what it's like to be like 14, 15, 16 years old? Come on, give me a fucking break. Anyway, the argument being made, imagine if it were made for a vehicle. Imagine that a prosecutor, and they would never do this with a vehicle because it's not a knee-jerk issue like guns are. They want to make this a big media story, so they're going with this. If you say the Crumbleys did not properly secure their gun, kid gets a hold of it, ergo they're responsible. What if they leave the keys to the car out and their kid at 3 a.m. gets into the car, is driving around illegally without a license, and then goes and rams a police barricade? Or they ram their car into a church? Or they ram their car into a Christmas parade like the racist at Waukesha that we never talk about. This has now replaced that despite the drastically different death and injury toll. I wonder why. By the way, the legacy media, very worried that Darrell Brooks feels dehumanized in jail. He killed 6 people, wounded like 40 more, including a bunch of little kids, but that's okay. The fact that he was bigoted, we can't determine it because we've scrubbed all the social media and made sure that it's out of public view for anyone that doesn't understand archives. But this is a stupid proposition. It would effectively nullify the usefulness of the Second Amendment on one's own property because it would necessitate onerous storage laws. It would take like California-style storage laws, export them potentially elsewhere. Well, if you have to have your gun in a gun safe with a gun lock on it, unloaded and stored separately from the ammo, and someone breaks into your house, or you live in the boonies and a bear is in your yard, okay, well, I guess the bear already ate your chickens. The burglar will just chuckle at you and make off with your TV. Then they'll come back for seconds while you're fumbling with a key. It makes no sense. For self-defense, property defense, against human or animal, to tell the truth, those laws are clearly an onerous burden that nullifies an important aspect of the Second Amendment. Courts have been involved in this. It'll become, I'm assuming, a SCOTUS case at some point in the near future. This could end up getting invalidated. Let's say, I don't think that they'd get convicted. I think a jury will see through this bullshit. But if they do, it could be invalidated by a higher court saying, look, the storage of the weapon is not so meaningful because you either have to say the Second Amendment is bullshit, which your court can't do, or you have to admit that this situation would be no different from a car or anything else. Oh, you didn't store your machete properly. Little Jimmy got a hold of the machete and put on a hockey mask, and then he went out and killed 5 or 6 people. He thought he watched too many horror movies. And you should have seen the warning signs that he was making goofy noises and wandering around with the bloody steak knife. Well, maybe so, but that doesn't make you guilty of manslaughter. You didn't know that was going to happen. You had no agency or say in it. And then you have a second problem. And before I go into, well, first, let me say this. First, for those of you watching on YouTube, since I'm really getting into this rant because it's a spicy one, keep in mind there will be a pinned comment down below with links to other video hosting sites that I use. I make several exclusive videos a day there. I announce this on the first video every day so that people are reminded. Other creators should do the same. Make sure to link people out. Now, Rumble, second video of the day is about Rumble merging with another company being publicly listed at $300 million on NASDAQ. So we've got big new tech news in the future. This situation is nonsensical with regards to the Crumbleys being charged. They were uninvolved in the decision-making process. I like how they're saying, well, there was a text message that we saw between the mother and the son with regards to, I can't remember. He's doing something wrong, and he's looking up ammo sales on a school computer. Not illegal, is it? Not particularly pernicious. You do realize that there are a lot of 15-year-olds that hunt as well, okay? If they're looking up some .22 ammo, it's none of the goddamn school's business. That would be the same as if they're looking up anything else that's like not on school time. You're looking up Harry Potter on the school computer? Oh my god. Wicca and Satanism and shit. No different. Looking up ammo is not a credible threat. It doesn't indicate that you're deranged or terroristic. The mom says, well, you need to learn how to not get caught. This is now being taken as not advice that the average parent would get. Don't do it on school time. And if you are, you're going to try to hide it from people. You can consider that to be bad parenting, but it's not illegal. It's not incitement, per se, in a criminal sense, I mean. With this case, additionally, you have another problem. The kid was being looked into because of his violent messaging on some of the drawings that he made. The school let him back in. The school is... Are we going to charge the head of the school with involuntary manslaughter? Wouldn't that be at least as responsible as the parents for leaving a gun out? And why should they check his fucking backpack? Parents... We should have a law called the Am I My Brother's Keeper law or something like that, nullifying the concept that other people should not have to rigorously examine everything that you do if you're a tenant or a congregant or a child or they're your legal guardian or boss in some capacity. Do we need to run everyone through a metal detector before they even leave their front door every morning to escape from possible criminal prosecution from shitheads like this DA? Is that what's necessary in the blue state world? Because at that point, I think that some people say, well, between that and the fact that looters are no longer even stopped in the shop, and I have to watch looting every goddamn day, I'm just going to move. I'm going to West Virginia. I'm going to a civilized part of the country. This is prosecutorial overreach. It's being done partially to prevent protests and potentially nights of violence, because Antifa and BLM love to come in at the drop of a hat. If there's a protest going on, they'll come and they'll do the violent shit at night, go looting and stuff. So they're like, well, we can't have that here. That's number one. And number two, because otherwise the legacy media would call it white privilege. That's really what it boils down to. Well, this privileged kid, his parents were negligent. They're not storing their guns in a proper manner. And so a bunch of other kids are dead. Well, that's not really true. Again, let's say that the Crumbleys kid takes the fucking car keys, laying on the fucking counter, unimpeded in doing so. They're not properly stored in a car key safe with biometric scanner in front of it to keep it from opening even with just the key. Takes the car and runs down someone he doesn't like in the school parking lot. Or he goes across state lines and starts robbing banks or something. Well, you should have secured your car. It's your property, right? Why is it that guns are literally the only thing that we ever hear supposedly intelligent, accredited legal prosecutors bring up in the sense of other people being responsible? If I buy a car from Ford Motors and I drive over a bunch of people in a parade, I know that the legacy media right now thinks SUVs act on their own in regards to the Waukesha racist terrorist attack, but the car manufacturer is not held liable. Not unless it malfunctioned because it was problematic, and then you got a big-ass civil case, and it was driving literally on its own. Well, I was stomping the brake and it didn't fucking stop. Sorry about all the kids on my windshield. That's different. But if you, using a car that is not malfunctioning, drive over a bunch of people, nobody says, hey, we need to sue Ford Motors more. We need more car control. Why is it that only firearm manufacturers, the one thing that you can tangibly own that is explicitly listed in the Constitution and as an exclusive, explicit right guaranteed from interference by the state, that is the one particular thing that they're so pernicious and malevolent about? This case is meaningless. I would love to say, I hope that the court laughs at it and tosses it out and says, what the fuck are you thinking? Unfortunately, they'll probably get some advocate judge who hates guns. He's in Michigan, so it tilts off into lefty land sometimes. And they'll go forward with it. And the Crumbleys will have a big case. And liberals will screech about how they're gun nuts. They'll dig through all the social media and find out inevitably it's far-right terrorism or something, inspired by Trump talking about the election. They'll proceed with the case. They'll probably lose the case against the Crumbleys. The kid shot a bunch of people. He's fucked. but his parents didn't shoot anyone. Couldn't have stopped it, probably. They'll get off, and then they'll be ridiculed and reviled as the parents of that evil killer, and by the way, you should be in jail. You should be ashamed. And then they'll make the show circuit and everything else. It'll rinse and repeat. It's in these people's interest to stoke this kind of bullshit in these cases. This is the result of paranoia and wokeness. And it's stupid. That's about all. Peace out.